Hello, it's Amy with Paper Moon Journals. Today I have a fun project using the Make a Splash papers. We'll be making another 4.5 by 6.5 trifold scrapbook mini album, just like the one that we made for the Curiouser and Curiouser papers, except this time we'll be decorating it with the Make a Splash. I have this manila one that I made already prepared for this project, and we can go through it real quickly. It's got 4 signature sections. Each of them has a wide pocket page that's in the middle, and then 2 little pocket pages on the front and back of that big pocket page, and then with a page on either side of those. So there's 16 pages, 8 front and back, 8 pocket pages, 4 of the hidden page pockets. And then I make these tags from scraps a lot of times. We can make them for this project as many as we want. I also like collaging my scraps into journaling cards, and we'll definitely be doing that at the end of this project to add those in here. I did get a little bit of paint on the top of that, but I knew it would wipe away. Let's take a look at the paper collection, just in case you haven't seen it yet. I do believe I pretty much forgot to use the sticker sheet. I used a couple to decorate some tags, but I pretty much forgot about that. Once the stickers are used up, they'll be gone, and not everybody might have those. So here's some of the papers, some of the cut aparts. You might recognize one that I have mine already cut apart, and there's one that we'll be using from the cover on there. I like the way they're journaling cards, so you could use the front or the back. We'll be using both fronts and backs. I love this whole page worth of border strips, so cool. And this sheet with all the shells. The mermaids, this one's great for fussy cutting. More cut aparts. And that's the main paper collection, which we use half of that to make the project, almost exactly half. And then we use a little bit from the patterns and solids. If you have some solid colored scrapbooking paper, that would work well. I know the Hobby Lobby unicorn collection coordinates really nicely. Now that we've looked at the paper collection, let's go ahead and take a look at the finished project. I did add some collage journaling cards to the project when I was all done. I made 2 of these projects, one on this manila background, and then I made another one using blue paper for the base scrapbook mini album and decorated that one so I could smash my stash as part of that collaboration challenge. I hope you're checking that out. That's been really fun. For January, we were supposed to be smashing our 12 by 12 pads. I did quite a bit of that with the Curious papers and this Make a Splash. And I also wanted a bunch of Valentine projects, and I had a bunch of 6 by 6 papers for that. I love how this mini album came out. I hope if you like it, you'll stick with me and follow along for making one. If you already learned how to make the scrapbook mini album in the Curiouser, then you can skip past the making of it and go straight to the decorating of it, so you get even more usefulness out of it. I do have a PDF available in my Etsy shop that helps making the base album a little bit easier. You don't have to copy everything down from the screen. You'll be able to just, print it out. Speaking of PDF instructions, let's move on to the tutorial for the base mini album. I have already attached my 10 by 12 pieces end to end, and I'm laying out the chipboard in the order that I like to assemble it. I like to have the 2 3/4 inch spine on the left and the 2.5 inch spine on the right of the pieces for our trifold album. You can just use 3 pieces and make yourself a regular cover if you don't want to do the trifold. I love the look of the trifold. I think it gives you the look of a boxed album where it's nice and secure and has a closure. It looks very professional and nice sitting on the table, where the other albums, I don't know, they just kind of flop open a little when you pick them up. I'm used to everything having some sort of a closure, and so I really love the trifold albums, although I do have a couple designs or patterns that I've made that weren't a trifold, but it is really my most favorite. If I I think I said already the PDF for this is available on the Etsy shop, but you don't really need it because I'll give you all of the instructions as we go along, and I'll be making it here with you in real time wherever possible. I'll just speed up boring bits like me gluing down these parts. When we glue down our chipboard pieces to our base scrapbooking paper, our base cardstock, what I'm using is just the Hobby Lobby basic brand. It's very affordable. It works well for me. And then we'll be wrapping that around the cover here. I have the pieces about 1/4 of an inch apart, the chipboard pieces. It's better to have them a little bit too far apart as opposed to having them too close together. If your paper splits, one of the reasons could be that maybe your chipboard pieces were too close together and it caused the paper to tear or break. I've sped up the rest of me gluing these pieces down, but you might notice I'm using one of the scraps of chipboard to just help make sure that I have all of the pieces lined up together and that they're going to be lined up upright with each other. Now that we have those glued down, let's set that off to dry and get out our instructions and see what we can prepare next. I think I would like to make the hinge piece, the hidden hinge binding mechanism. It's really easy to make, and I was surprised how really easy and fun it is. And then I noticed that I picked up the wrong instructions that didn't have the hinge mechanism instructions on it. These ones do. This one has the hinge on it. So what we need is a piece that is 6 inches tall, and we'll just keep it the full length until we're done scoring it, and then I just trim the excess off. I've already gone ahead and scored it. I left 1.5 inches at either end and then scored 1/2 inch with a 1/2 inch gusset in between. So you score at 1.5 inches, 7 inches, and 8.5. And everything between 1.5 and 7 inches is scored every mark at the 1/2 inch mark. Then we pinch together paired of 1/2 inch marks to make our little hinges. I've got my double-sided tape here, and I will be gluing shut. They're mountains when we've pinched them together. Of course, when we flip it over, they're valleys. So we're going to glue those valleys shut. And this is going to have quite a bit of weight on it. I want it really nice. So this will have double-sided tape stuck to double-sided tape. This will really be glued securely with our tape. And each one of the 4 now valley folds, now that it's upside down. And again, leaving a 1/2 inch gusset between every one of these hinges. And I'm using my ruler to tear the tape. You want to make sure you burnish the tape down well so that you get good adhesion, and then we're ready to peel off the backing and glue these shut. Each one of these, once glued shut, becomes a hinge. And then we just slide our little page over the top of the hinge. It's so easy. It's a no-so. I can't believe that I spent years worrying about not trying this because I thought it would be too hard. And then I have so much fun with it. I really love paper and the scrapbooking papers, especially by Graphic 45, but I've come to love some of the ones by Echo Park and Prima. I've always liked Prima. I tend to like the papers that are more artistically rendered and a little less of the cutesy, maybe. So here's our hinges. And see, we've got 4 of them there. That's the top. And then on the bottom of our hinge system, I like to use double-sided tape. You can use the adhesive of your choice. I'm going to use double-sided tape all along the back here. I'll do the best I can to cover the entire back with double-sided tape. I think this roll runs out on us and we end up getting another roll. I don't remember what brand this was. Scrapbook.com was out of their 2-inch wide tape, and so I got an alternate brand, and there was almost no yardage on the roll, and it was not cheap. I was pretty disappointed when I saw how little yardage was on this roll. But I did get myself a roll once it came back in stock, and that's the one that we'll be using once this one runs out. It must run out on another project. I did make a second one of these after the video, trying out my written instructions again once I had them all finalized for the Etsy store. If you do get one of my PDFs and you happen to notice a mistake or an adjustment that's needed, if you would politely message me, I would sure appreciate that, because I do use the instructions to make them. I try them out a couple times, but I think it can be hard sometimes perhaps to catch your own mistakes, since sometimes at the cutter I tend to just cut the piece I know I need instead of looking over at the instructions. You know, I try, but my mind wanders while I'm over at the cutter. I'm attaching double-sided tape to both the front and the back of each of the hinges. We're not going to put the page all the way down on the hinge to allow it to move more freely. So the fact that this piece is smaller than the hinge is good. And it also allows that if I don't get it on there quite straight, that there won't be double-sided tape sticking out. Another thing that I like to do, but often forget until after I've stuck it inside the project, is to miter the corners of our hinges. Let me get my, non-stick scissors. My non-stick scissors, so we can cut the edges of that off and not gum up my scissors, my regular ones. And they do go flying when I trim them off. I'll have to gather those up later. I'm just cutting down the width of the tape, cutting the corner off. There we go. Now we can finish wrapping our cover now that the glue's had a minute to set. We won't have pieces shifting when we go to fold it all up. I don't often wait, but a lot of times I'll mass make scrapbook album bases. So I will. I'll make one base, I'll set it aside, and then I'll make another. So if you'd like to mass make some, particularly the 3x3s. I love mass making the little mini 3x3s, at least 2 at a time. And then just burnish down the paper, folding it tightly around the edge of the chipboard and scoring all the way to the ends. I like to cut out the corners. You need to be careful to not cut too close to the chipboard, or there will be bare chipboard peeking out. I want to make sure I get right up to the edge of the chipboard there, and I could see I wasn't. Using my bone folder pressed up against it. We'll do the same thing with the other side. Getting it snug against the chipboard and getting good score lines so I can see where to cut out the corner. And I cut just outside of the score line and maybe within 1/8 of an inch of the corner. If I get too close to the corner, I just use a triangle of scrapbooking paper to cover up where the chipboard shows. See, I did better leaving more room on the other side, on one side than the other. Then don't forget to rotate your project around so that it's easy for you to work with instead of reaching across as you might want to do, as I wanted to do before I started filming videos. I found myself getting into the most awkward positions when it would have just been so much easier to rotate my project. All right, we're ready for that double-sided tape. Maybe here's where we run out. Again, maybe it was on another project. I was pretty sure it was on the hinge mechanism where I ran out on one of the projects, but maybe not. Somewhere on here, there's a good chance that we'll be switching brands of double-sided tape. I tried buying some no-name brand off Amazon, and even though I reordered the exact same tape from the same seller, I would get different tape each time. One of the times the tape came all brownish orange. The glue was all brownish orange, and it stunk so bad I couldn't stand to have it in the house or anywhere near me. And it was a no refund situation on that one. I was just stuck with the tape, and the seller was like, sorry, it's yellow and it stinks, but it still works. I don't know if it still worked or not because I didn't want to give it a chance. Yuck. I bought lots and lots of double-sided tape, and that was the only time I'd ever seen double-sided tape that looked like that. It obviously comes straight from the factory in China by the packaging. So anyhow, So now I just stick with either scrapbook.com or Score Tape brand, or just any tape from scrapbooking.com. If it wasn't their brand, then any other brand that they carried, I just assume is a top quality brand and buy it from that. But if I'm buying from Amazon, then I'll buy the Score Tape brand so that I know that it won't pull back up later. On some of my earlier projects, I had used inferior or really inexpensive double-sided tape, and then later my hinge kept pulling up out of the project, and that was kind of sad. I mean, since it pulled up, it wasn't a big deal to glue it back down, and that the next time I just used wet glue, and till I got better double-sided tape. But we'll spend a couple hours making this, and it would be a shame if it falls apart later just because we wanted to save a few dollars on our double-sided tape. I'm also pretty stingy with the tape as a result, though, since it's so pricey. I think it's like $10 a roll, depending on the size that you're getting. I think it's like $20 a roll for the 2-inch tape. So expensive. And the glue's was $25 a bottle the last time I got it, and then I noticed when I looked this time it was only $22 when I run out again. I like to get the big 16-ounce refill bottle and then just refill the tiny glue dispenser. I find that way I'm more frugal with my glue. That and using lots of glue stick wherever I can to avoid using either the double-sided tape or the wet glue. Though it's about $20 for a box of the 60 glue sticks, and I do go through them. I just ordered 2 more boxes of the 60 glue sticks each and have those in my storage. When I need them, I just go get a handful, and I'm surprised how often I run out of that handful's just all gone, and I need to go get more for the craft cart that I keep in my working area. I don't know if you follow me on social media, but I know on TikTok, like at least once a year, I'll do a little filming of my crafting area. I craft in the living room. At one end of the living room, I have a bookcase, a desk, a chair that I craft in, and 2 crafting carts. And then, of course, my crafting project kind of takes over the entire living room, where any papers that I have out or that I'm using get spread over the surface of every piece of furniture from one end of the living room to the other. Maybe even the kitchen table gets involved if I really get spread out. Oh, well. But when I clean it up and everything's tidy, it's down to just, the 2 crafting carts. I need to reorganize those. I use those heavily. The crafting cart that's right next to my chair has all of my go-to tools on it. My bone folder, my binding system, my double-sided tape, my ink, the things that I use every single time I craft. Those are on the crafting cart and right next to me. My punches, all of my punches are on there. One of my goals for this year, it's January 2025 when I'm filming this. Oh, let's go ahead and let's get back to the video. So in the video, I've finished attaching the paper all the way around, and we're ready to stick in our hinge binding system. You just want to make sure it's centered top to bottom and left to right. Our flaps will overlap the gap between chipboard pieces, and then we'll just cover up that chipboard on the left when we're decorating. We want to gently work our bone folder into the crease. I like to work it from the front and the back to make sure that the outside of the cover doesn't have any weird places where it didn't stick down quite right. When you flip it around, you'll see sometimes it just doesn't look quite right. And then we'll need another piece. We'll need a 6-inch by, I have just a 6-inch by 12-inch piece that I'm just going to trim to size. I think we need maybe by 11 inches or 10.5 inches, something like that. But it was easier to just take the whole 12-inch piece and cut it to size. My main cutter that I use doesn't cut anything smaller than 1.5 inch very well at all, because that's the width of the little cutting ruler that's in the way. It's meant for an office cutter and not for crafting. I think that's why. Okay, so let me get double-sided tape on this piece now that we know it's the right size and going to fit. So I want to cover the whole piece. I'll be using my 2-inch double-sided tape again. I know my friend Debbie at Project 39 Mini Albums, she says she likes the 4-inch tape. I don't know if I have trouble getting the 2-inch down straight without, and sometimes I wrinkle it and stuff. And then the 4-inch wide tape is even more costly than this. I noticed, I think she gets the scrapbook.com brand too. There's no reason to take chances with your double-sided tape. Or the glue, for that matter. Life is too short to wait for glue to dry. Buy the good glue. That art glitter glue, it just grabs instantly, and it makes making boxes and pop-up cards, things like that, makes it fun and easy. Where if you were using Elmer glue, you'd need a ton of clips and paper clips, and it might shift while the glue is drying and not end up how you wanted it. Let's just peel the backing off of our double-sided tape. There was a slight overlap off the edge. I'm trying to fold in. And then I think I might have overlapped the rows of tape a little. Once I get the backing off of here, we'll be using that to cover the inside of the book. Let me speed this up. All right, I sped it up to 5 times natural speed and then worked the creases in front and back. You can see one of the times I turned it around, it did look funny, didn't it? The next step I like to do is to add the magnets. These are the ones I get from Amazon. They only once came in this little box, and then I continue to just keep reusing the little box. I ordered another 100. I'll just add them to the ones already in this little box till the end of time, and it sticks to the side of my rolling cart that I keep next to my work area, the little case of magnets. So I love that. So I like to stick each one down with the wet glue and then secure it with some double-sided tape. Let me fix the lighting here, see if I can. Okay, yes, and then secure it down with some double-sided tape. It's about a 1/2 inch away from either edge of the corner there. And then I like to let the second set of magnets pair themselves to the magnets in the book. That way we know we have our positive and negatives going the correct way with our magnets. And it's fun to just let them suck out of your hand and click down onto the thing. We add a dot of glue to the magnet to mark the spot. And if we're lucky, the magnet might stay in that spot when we open it. If not, it leaves a dot of glue where we needed it to go. So we got one of each. And then we stick that down and secure it with double-sided tape, and we'll leave the backing on that double-sided tape until we're decorating, and that will help glue down our decorative pieces during the decoration phase. We won't be decorating the one that we're making now. We'll be decorating the prototype, which, as I told you, is actually slightly smaller than in the spine, just the spine. Everything else is exactly the same, but the prototype did have a smaller spine, and it looks nice as long as you're not planning on adding photos to it. So I just kept that one as a sample for my own reference, since I love how this one came out decorated. I did make a second one using the album that we decorated here, and I love the cover. There's some things that I really love about it, in particular the really big size, but I just like this one better. I think because I had leftovers from another pad of paper, and so I used some extra pieces in this project. Let's get our pages ready. We will need 4 sheets of 12 by 12 to get the pages ready, and we score it at 6 inches one way, and then we rotate it and score it at 4 and 8 inches. And we'll need to do this with all 4 of our sheets. I had already prepared mine and pre-cut one of them, but we'll go through cutting and folding the 3 that we have remaining that need to be folded up. So we cut down the center fold line up to this last third here. We'll cut all the way down through 2 sections to that last third line, leaving it uncut so we don't cut it all the way in half. And then fold it in half so that it's now 6 inches tall. and then just accordion the pages on either side of this page pocket that we've created. So there's one. You can see there's a little page pocket, and then for now it's a little zigzag on either side. We're just going to glue shut the little flapping bits. You could also make top loading pockets out of those and then side loading pockets. I like the durability and the sturdiness that this gives the pages. It makes it feel so professional. I hate to say it, it makes it feel store-bought. Better than store-bought because it's handmade. One of the fun things about hand making your own scrapbook mini albums bases is that you can make the base in whatever color you want for your project. And if you start with a color like red or blue, it can really give you a head start on decorating and give the project a whole different vibe than if you had done it on this cream color or a black color. I do offer some blank mini albums for sale in my store ready for decorating. I was thinking, once I get some made, that maybe I'd offer some of these available, ready to decorate. If you decide maybe you don't want to make one yourself, but you would like to decorate one of these, you can encourage me in the comments. I will more quickly get to making some blank ones for the shop. Maybe sell the blank one I plan to decorate and then make another one for myself, something like that. I like to make a couple at a time when I'm sitting down making them. Sit and make at least a couple. So there's 2 of the pages. Just weight it down with something here. And then I had one already made. There we go. I did one off camera. So we have all 4 of our pages. And what we need is what I call, the thing that closes the pocket page. It creates another pocket and then closes the pocket page. Okay, so we'll need 4 pieces that are 4 7/8 by 5 inches. And with the 5-inch side up, you want to score at 2.5 inches. Let's just do all 4 pieces. And then you rotate it and score it at a 1/2 inch and 4 3/8. And then, oh, that's going the wrong way. Wait a minute, Amy, stop. No, that one was supposed to be facing the other way. Oh no. I will just try to burnish out the fold lines. And now let's rotate it. You rotate it first. And then 1/2 inch and 4 3/8. Whew, I hope I don't do that again. So 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 4 3/8. See, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too, but the finished album will still be fine. 1/2 inch, 4 3/8. We can move our scoring tool out of the way. And we're ready to miter the corners. The 1/2 inches are flaps that we'll be using to glue it in while still leaving the pocket open for the pocket page, and front and back pockets that close the pocket page, like this. But if we don't cut out the excess bulk, it's just kind of clumsy. So it's nicer if we miter the edges. Burnish these down first. Sometimes it just didn't want to fold one way. It acts like there's no score line there, so I just fold it the other way then. I think these are intended to be folded the other way anyhow, against the score line. the bump. Okay, so now you can miter the corners like this, cutting little V's out and cutting the edge off. And then on the last one, I was like, oh wait, if you just do it like this, it's faster. So again, that's the more fun when you do the mass make, when I sit and make a couple at a time. Once I figure out the faster way, I of course remember that for the second one that I'm making right after. I'll do one step on one, and then, you know, like say do this step on one, and then do this step on the other. And just work back and forth between the two journals until they're both completed. And then maybe just sit and make a couple more if I'm having a mass make scrapbook mini album. Like if I'm restocking my inventory, I have a full stock of my 6x6 mini albums in there. I sold a couple over Christmas, and then I sat down and spent a whole weekend making 6 more to add to inventory. So 2 of each color is what I added. Although I might have already sold one of those, something like that. I think I didn't see one, thought my inventory was off and made a new one. And then when I reorganized my inventory, found that I did already have one in inventory. And then if you just miter the corners with it folded, then it's even easier than cutting the V out. If you just go like that. Isn't that easier? It's faster. I think both are plenty easy, but that's definitely faster. Would have been faster. I did it that way. Let me clear these off, and then we'll be ready to close up our pocket pages. After which we can get them in the book, which is really exciting. When we get all of our signature sections and pages into the book, I'll show you how I glue those shut, and then I'll go off camera and just glue all of the pages shut without making you sit and watch and listen to me ramble, or the boring commercial-free music that I'm able to have. As a commercial account, they limit my music choices. You know what options I have. Alright, so I glued down one size, make sure it's lined up with the bottom and it's free of the hinge, the page hinge. And then glue down the other side, just burnish it down, make sure it's stuck. And then I'll just go ahead and show you using wet glue. I'll just go wild with my wet glue. It also keeps the pages flatter. I find there's less rippling and buckling when I use the glue stick than when I use wet glue. But I didn't want to go get a glue stick, and so here we are. But I'll go get a glue stick and I'll glue the rest of them off camera shut using the glue stick. The most affordable way, I think, to glue shut 2 pieces of paper. When I use glue stick, I get it on there really thick, and you also have to burnish it down. I like to use the back of the glue stick container to burnish it down when I'm using glue stick, and then it will stay stuck. There we go. Just working everything over, making sure it's fit together. There's no glue where I don't want it, that kind of thing. None squeezed out and closed the pocket or glued a page to the pocket or something. There we go. So there's one, and you can see it's open all the way through, and that's where we're going to slide it onto the hinge. So I'll show you how I close up the pocket again, just so you can get to see that. So I do one side first, and then line it up with the open end of the pocket, and this closes that pocket, still leaving it open on the side, which I find is so marvelous. giving us so many pages for each little attachment to the hinge. I just loved how this worked out using the full sheet. And there we go. I've gone ahead and finished up all of the pages off camera, and we're ready to attach them to our hinge system. This is so fun. So the first thing is to peel the double-sided tape off. The only trick here is you just don't want to accidentally glue the tape, that hinge, to the inside of the cover there. I've done that once. I was able to pick it back apart and save the whole thing. So that was nice. So we just slide the sleeve of our signature over the top of that hinge, leaving about 1/8 of an inch between the of the hinge where we didn't slide it all the way down. That way it will turn freely inside our book. And this pocket page is what it's actually inside of, is there. So if you burnish that part down, we do not want our page coming unstuck. Let's move this out of the way. Then peel off the backing. Then get the sleeve on top of there. Just open all the way through. Just slide it onto the hinge. Easy peasy. And then once you're sure that it's straight and it's lined up with the, pages behind it and the cover, then you can burnish it down. You can see I'm working to get that top edge so that it's in there the way I want it. And again, leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap between the where we've attached the page to the hinge and the bottom of the album, the back of the spine. Because there's 2 pages in, or 2 signature sections in, lots of pages and pocket pages. Isn't that cool? You can see that one has a little piece where I didn't fold it quite evenly. I'm going to trim that off now. And we're ready to do the 3rd page. I'll go ahead and speed this up just twice normal speed, since you've seen me do this a couple times. Okay, we have all of our pages in, and the next thing that I think I'd like to do is to make the tags that we'll be using in here. To make the tags, we want 4 pieces, or at least 4 tags. Will be 4 pieces that are 5.5 by 5 inches. We want them to be 5 inches long and 5 inches wide. And then we just fold them in half so that they're 2.5 inches wide and 5.5 inches long. The 2.5 inches wide is because that's the perfect size to fit my tag top punch. I have some extra left over as well. Whenever I have strips that are scraps, it's one of my shorts, then I just fold that strip, 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5, 3 inches. I'd cut it down to 2.5 inches. I just fold them in half, glue them shut, and then punch them in my tag top punch. So I just cut some of those down, 1/2 inch, because it makes 6-inch tall ones when I do that. So I just cut those down to be 5.5 inches tall, rounded the corners and added those to the ones available for our project. And then I'm showing you how to make some here. So I like to use my glue stick. I'll just glue them shut and then put them underneath the scrapbook to keep them flat, to keep them from curling while I make the rest of them. and just burnish it down really good using the bottom of the glue stick container. I love that tag top punch. I bought it over a year ago and it still might be one of my favorite tools. One of my goals for 2025 is to use my die cutting machine more, but it does allow me to not need to get a die cutting machine out to have these beautifully shaped tags. See, I'm getting a really thick layer of the glue stick on there, and some of it squeezes out a little when I'm burnishing it down, so you know you have it on there good and thick. I really like the Amazon brand because it's not grainy or chunky, and I find that it can take a little bit more pressure without squeezing as much out as some of the other brands. The Amazon brand is my favorite. Let me get my tag top punch over here, and then we can use that. It's available on Amazon. It's on my Amazon tools list. I also have Amazon supplies list links on there. Thank you so much to everybody who's used that. I really appreciate it. I noticed last year I got $20 from people using the click and links. That was really nice. That sure paid for some supplies. I appreciate that. Since I don't have any budget for this, anything is appreciated. And in my world, money is tight enough that $20 is a lot of money. That's exciting for me. I really thought I'd be lucky if I made it to $5 or $10, really. And so the fact that it was almost $20, I thought that was pretty good. So thank you for that. I hope that you enjoyed the tools and supplies that you got if you were one of the people who used the links. Now this one's a little bit too wide, so let me just trim that down. It'll fit in here better. I almost have too many because I've been making so many scrapbooks and not as many junk journals. I haven't been using as many tags. So I have rings full of tags from making my scraps into tags. Black, white. I have some where I collage the scraps into a masterboard and then cut those and make those into tags. I did those with some of my Valentine scraps. Some of my Winnie the Pooh scraps were made into tags. So that was fun. Also make them into like 3x4 journaling cards. I like to do that. I collage my scraps onto a sheet of 12x12 and then cut them into 3x4s. That's fun. Okay, so I had 3 from my scraps that were the right size. And here they are. Some of the scraps I've folded in half in preparation for gluing into tags, and some of them I haven't yet. That's a project for another day. Adding the eyelets makes them look so nice too. Okay, let's clean up our desk area and get to the next step. I'll add some eyelets to these and then meet you back here. I like using my crocodile for this, my crocodile eyelet setting tool. Okay, now that that's done, we can make our narrow pocket that has a flap closure. You want to score that at 4.5 and 10 inches, and then 1/2 inch on either side, or 1/2 inch and 4 inches. And then the little 1/2 inch sections will be flaps to close it. We want to just retain that little 1/2 inch piece for the bottom third. So I'm just going to fold it and miter the edges there. This reminds me that this is the section I'm keeping. I'm just double checking it's right. Yes, this is the section I'm keeping. And then we trim off that 1/2 inch section on all of the other pieces. I don't know why I'm mitering the corners on all of these. I guess I've temporarily forgotten that those are going to be cut away. But I do remember, and they get cut away. Maybe I'm just practicing mitering corners. But it's easier if you just do that on the bottom section and then cut away the 1/2 inch sections on either side. like I'm about to do now. There we go. See, no big deal. It's strange because I created this and then forgot what I was doing partway through. There we go. This is the piece we want. And then the flap piece, the 2-inch flap, I like to round the corners on that. So I'll want to get my corner rounder and bring it over here. A thumb notch is the thing this really, really needs. It really needs a thumb notch. I didn't notice that until I was all done, but I'd recommend to you. If you have a circle punch, a 1.5, 2-inch circle punch, punch a nice sized thumb notch out of there. You'll make your life a lot easier getting things in and out of that pocket later. I also could have gusseted the little flaps here to give us a little more room inside the pocket. With the flap, we don't have to worry about things falling out. So we totally could have made gusseted pocket here. But this is good. And it works well. So you can either add magnets now before decorating to close it, or wait until it's already decorated and use Velcro dots, which is what I plan to do. So since it's optional, you could, I think if you put it inside the front cover, it would keep the magnets from touching. So I like that spot inside the back cover. You could maybe fit it on one of the pages as well. That's why I made it only 4 inches wide. So you had the option of adding it to one of the pages if you wanted. I think I'll glue this down in a U shape so I can put a tag in behind it as well. That's also optional. So there's just one more step that we need to do to finish making or constructing the base of this mini album, and that's to make the cards that will go into the pocket pages. Let me go get some more scrapbooking paper and get those ready. We need 4 pieces that are cut to 7.5 by 5 3/4 inches. We are going to glue those shut, as I love to do, into 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 inch cards. I also like to round the corner on these. And you could have used your scoring board if you wanted. I find it's easier to just fold them in half and score them shut. So I will go ahead and do that and then meet you back here. We'll be all ready to decorate at that point. You can see I've made note of some basic decorating instructions, which will get more elaborate as we continue on, and I remember more things that I forgot to anticipate what I'd like to do. So let's go ahead and glue these shut around the corners. All right, here we are. So I have made note of some cuts for the cover and the pages, including the pocket pages, and then we'll be adding more measurements as we continue on. You can see that this paper collection has a lot of 4x6 cut aparts that are perfect for this project, for using on the cover and inside the project. Many of the Graphic 45 paper collections have these cut aparts. I also cut apart from the main cover sheet some 4x6 pieces, just same size as the 4x6 cut aparts, but they're not journaling card or two-sided. They didn't have the framed border. I think that would also make a nice cover. You can pick whichever one that you think makes the best cover, and that will help personalize the project for you. I think I would like to cover my base with some patterns and solids, and I'll be using some of this purple paper that we have here. Let me get the instructions out. All right. What I did was I went ahead and I inked all the way around and glued down the purple pages that I cut out. I cut them to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, the purple pieces. And then I just trimmed down these pieces to a size that looked like they would fit good from the 4x6 pieces I already had prepared for potential covers. So then the spine of this, if it was sitting on the bookshelf, will have a similar image to what's on the cover. And then the other half of that, I'm just using on the other spine. I like the way using that purple distressed oxide really added to the cover from the manila. I also would like to see a layer of dark blue all around every piece that I put down after I was done. I really wished I had matted with some dark blue. Or maybe use some dark blue for inking the edges. Could have added some dark blue. Also this border strip section here. If you have it nice and wide, that would fit on the spine. It's a perfect fit from one of the cut apart pages. There's also a page just of border strips, which is pretty nice. Inside the front cover, I want to use a couple 4x6s. I think this is probably very similar to what we did with the Curiouser album. Because we need the magnets to meet here, we don't want too much paper over the magnet, nor do we want a pocket with anything in it or flip-ups or things like that that would prevent the magnets from touching. I want to ink all around the edges here because there's already ink around the one side. So I want to ink around all the sides. And it really adds a personalized look to the project as compared to just leaving it with manila. Your choice of ink that you're using, again, if you're using blue or black or in this case purple. Right now that I have those glued down, I think this piece would be nice for the center back. Either side would look great. I'll be making 2 of these albums, so I might do 1 album each way. I like making, I want to smash my stash as part of the collaboration, of course. So the 1 pad of the paper makes 2 of these scrapbook mini albums. Since there's 2 of each design. There we go. That's looking nice. I wait until the very end to add flat backs and glitter so that it doesn't delay my ability to work on the project. And again, the cover has us cut 4 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. We used 2 on the outside cover. 1 of them I cut into pieces for the spine, and then the 4th one we use here inside the cover to help mat this piece. There's not a magnet on this section, so we can layer this up. Again, you can decorate yours how you want. You could use another one of the 4x6 cards or a different cut apart. Yeah, I think I'll get that inked up and glued down. This piece I'll put right there. I'll just cut this to fit instead of measuring it, but surely we'd want 6 1/4 for this piece. Okay, I have those glued down. Now you can get a peek at the cut list. You can take a screenshot of this if you can. Okay, we need 16 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 inch pieces, since our page size is 4x6. And these are the pages that I'm pulling out to use. This lavender, this dark blue with the scales on the back from the Patterns and Solids, this light blue with the script on the back, the other dark blue with illustrations on the back. Let's see what else is in here. Let's use this one with the seaweed. Ocean Dance, that one was called. Born to be a Mermaid. Celebrate. And Fantasy Cove. And then I already have my cut aparts already cut out and in a stack. I'll also be using from the page that's all of the border strips. We'll be using half a sheet of border strips. So I've gone off and cut, I think 3 at a time, the pages that I need from each one of the papers. And then I'm using, for the most part, 2 of my favorite side and then 1 of my less favorite side as I go through the album. And then I'll bring you with me so you can see which pages I used where in case you want to copy mine exactly. This is Ocean Dance that we're using here. And again, I cut 3 of the 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 inch pieces from this. and then celebrate. I have 3 pieces cut from that. And it looks like at the same time from the patterns and solids. Nope, that was actually Fantasy Cove, the front and back of Fantasy Cove. So I cut 3 each from those 3 sheets so far. And then I'll glue these down. I'll ink up the edges, glue them down, and then meet you back here for the next set of pages that I'll be using. Okay, everything's glued down now. And you can see where I left off. I've now cut from the patterns and solids. It was getting a bit busy, so the dark blue and light blue, as you can see here, and a little bit of purple. And here's another look at the cut list. And I've cut the pieces to decorate the pocket page cards. Once we've decorated our pocket cards, you could also, cut it bigger with a smaller border if you want. I was planning on inking around the edge of the border. So I left a nice fat border around the edge of mine, and I'm inking it around front and back. That will make it stand out from the page, the pocket page that it's hiding inside of. It's kind of a hidden page pocket with a little card in there. After we're done with that, the next thing that I think we'll be ready to do will be to decorate the tags and then the tall, narrow pocket. Once we have that done, then we're ready for the final decoration stages, which is just adding border strips and cut aparts and things like that to decorate everything else up. The finishing touches is what I like to call it. So this part is fun, but I feel like the finishing touches is the most fun when I use fussy cuts and cut aparts and decorate, add glitter and flat backs, and take it from good or okay to wow. I love it. I was just using pages from my scraps. I went through my scraps to get the cut aparts for those cards. Let's take a look at the instructions here. Let's do the tall pocket next. Now, if you want, you can add a magnet. That's optional. You could use a Velcro closure if you have one. You don't even have to have any kind of a closure on here. I just think it's fun, the snap of the magnet when it clicks shut, and adds a little bit more elegance to the journal, or extravagance maybe, with the magnets. My dirty fingers have gotten a little bit of glue on there. And then I think I did mention I used my fun corner rounder to round the corners on that piece there. And I just used the magnet, let them click together so that I know they're partnered together the correct way. And then put the sticky side down on the dot the glue made and cover that up. Normally I'd cover that up with some double-sided tape and leave the backing on there until I was ready to decorate. But we're decorating now, so there we go. When I make them to sell blank in my shop, I leave them with the double-sided tape covering over it until the person starts decorating. If you'd be interested in buying one of these to decorate blank, let me know. Encourage me in the comments and I'll make one for you and list it in the shop so you can decorate it. Okay, now we're back with the tags. It's 2 by 4.5 inches. And again, I just went to my scraps and found scraps that were the right size and made enough for 2 in each pocket, or almost 2 in each pocket. Looks like that pocket just got 1. But when I'm all done making the second project, I'll be collaging together all my scraps, making collage journaling cards. and I'll add those to the pockets, to the back sides of the pockets. Anywhere where it looks like it needs more. Oh, it looks like I forgot to decorate that one. And here's the pieces right here. So let's just go ahead and do that now. And okay, now that's been glued down. You can take a look at where our project is now and kind of assess what do we want to do with the decoration. I had some cut-aparts left over that are not the right size for this project, so this one I'm just going to glue shut. That will make it into a sturdy little card around the corners. This one I folded in half so that the words are on the bottom half and the shell on the others. And again, if you round the corners and use a fun corner rounder, or at least a regular corner rounder, it makes them look a little bit more finished. And with this other one, same thing, going to fold it in half to a size that suits my project better. And then now I'll be adding that to some pockets. I didn't film the part where I finished decorating, so we'll have the flip through again at the end that we had at the beginning, showing how the project came out, and we'll go through how I finished decorating everything, where I added glitter, where I added border strips, cut-aparts. I used some fussy cuts from the Born to Be a Mermaid page that had some really good fussy cuts. Also, I could have used some from the Fantasy Cove that has some really good fussy cuts. On the sticker page, had some good border strips that would have been nice. And then there's that whole sheet of border strips that's called Wish Upon a Starfish. And I cut those apart into varying widths, thicker and thinner pieces, and used those to decorate. I had a lot of fun. I hope you like the way it came out. Here it all is. Let's put our cards in. And then, as I said, when we go through it, I'll have tied bows onto the tags, ribbons, things like that. It still doesn't have the collage tags in it at this flip through. And then keep an eye on my channel. I'll be sharing a flip through of the other project that I made with the blue background using the same papers. So it's the same but different. Here we are after I've added all the decoration and glitter. Again, this is the same video that I shared at the beginning. But if you've been with me to make the whole project, you'll want to see the finishing touches that I added without you. And the glittery sparkle. If you make this project, please tag me. I'd love to see how your project came out. Here's some of those tags we made. I used some stickers to decorate my tag after the fact. The only stickers I used, really. I stuck on some of our tags. I left lots of room for photos in here. These journaling cards, there's one in the back pocket of each one of the 4 signature pages. I used the little cut apart to decorate this pocket page, a couple of the postage stamp stickers. I love how this came out, and it was so much fun. I sat down and made another one as soon as I finished making this one. I just sat down, constructed another album, and decorated it. It took me about 3 or 4 hours to sit down and make an album and decorate it. So you could totally make one of these in an afternoon. Maybe if you've made one before, first time might take you a little bit longer, but it's not too challenging. I love how it came out. Again, I hope you did too. Please tag me if you decide to make one. I love it if you comment. Let me know that you appreciated this tutorial, that you enjoyed it. I really appreciate everybody's comments. I really appreciate each and every one of you who takes time to watch my videos, whether you have time to comment or not. I know I watch on the TV when I watch other people's videos, so it takes an extra effort for me to go make a comment. I have to pick up my phone, go to my video history and so forth to go in and leave a comment on somebody's video. But I really appreciate all of you. Again, I hope you enjoyed this project. I know I sure did. Happy crafting. Thank you for watching. And please have a wonderful day.